Welcome in to the 48 Minutes podcast on Believe, presented by Bet Online. I'm Ross Geiger, the former NBA video coordinator, having spent time with the Bucks, Suns, and Knicks. And I'm joined alongside Bruce Bernstein, our four-time Emmy Award winner who spent more than 3 decades at ESPN producing NBA shows, SportsCenter, and soaking up knowledge from the best hoop analysts in the business. And we're also joined by 2-time Emmy Award winner Michael Worldby Freer, who is a senior writer at StatFactor, specializing in writing advanced statistical NBA reports for various announcers across the league. And tonight, we're thrilled to be joined by one of the standout rookies in this year's NBA draft class. Brandin Podziemski of the Golden State Warriors joins us. This is episode number 97, the Allen Iverson episode, as the answer took home the 1997 Rookie of the Year award. Before we're joined by the Warriors' top rookie, just a quick reminder. It's down to the last 2 teams. BetOnline has been your tournament bracket headquarters all March long. And now that we're almost down to the finals, we've still got a lot more in store. MLB is here, and the NBA and NHL playoffs are around the corner. As always, BetOnline is your number one source for your summer sports wagering. Head to BetOnline today to stay updated on all the action. And remember to use our promo code BLEAV, that is BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, the game starts here. All right, and Brandin, really want to thank you for joining the 48 Minutes podcast here tonight, taking time out of your night. I know you just got done watching the big national championship game between UConn and Purdue. Wanted to quickly get your thoughts on what you thought about the game.
Yeah, I mean, UConn has just been – not only in the game, but just the season in general, just so dominant and on both sides of the ball. They got a bunch of NBA guys who are just willing to sacrifice their success for everybody else's. And they got a great staff that, runs professional and, oversees stuff that many teams don't see very often. And obviously tonight you had Klingon that was a good matchup for Edey, but also what Sampson did, the backup center for UConn, his presence and his effort, even though he fouled out, kind of wore down Edey, so that when Klingon came back in the game, it was a lot easier. And I think just as a collective whole, UConn just kind of wore them down and took away the 3 and said, Zach Edey's going to have to score 70 points to beat us. And obviously he had a really good game. I think he had 35 and over 10 rebounds, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, great recap there by you. Now, to spotlight you here for our show, I'll get right into things here. And you've always been a guy that's bet on yourself, transferring to Santa Clara after 1 year coming off the bench at Illinois as a freshman, where he averaged just 1.4 points per game. And then ultimately not just declaring, but remaining in the draft after an extremely successful year at Santa Clara. So my question to you is, has that always been within your DNA, or was there a moment or person in your life that helped make that click?
I think it's always been in my DNA. My parents are kind of the same way of betting on yourself, only trusting those that you're really close with. For me, it was my mom and dad. And so everybody else's opinion kind of wasn't relevant to me. I just kind of, like you said, bet on myself, and every step of my journey, it's worked out for the best. So I think it's safe to say I'm going to continue to do so.
Yeah.
So, Brandin, without question, you're one of the top rookies. You're top 10 in points per game, minutes played, games played, rebounds, total points. And this has been an incredibly good rookie crop. So you're going to probably most likely make one of the all-rookie teams. How much is it going to mean to you to make first or second team all-rookie?
Yeah, hopefully it's first team. But either way, first or second team makes you a top 10 rookie. And for me, being drafted 19th, I think it just kind of goes to show, that I'm better than what my pick was. A lot of GMs during the draft process asked me in a redraft, where would you go? And I told them top 5. And I think this year it's definitely possible for me to be first team all rookie. I think I've done that. Not necessarily being the best scorer, rebounder, passer, but I just kind of do a little bit of everything that helps a team win. and I think that's kind of what increases my value on a team. But I also think it's a stamp of approval. What I believe in, what my family believes that I can do, and I think it's a great first step in my journey. And then obviously, year 2, year 3, you just continue to get better.
Brandon, what has been the biggest adjustment you've had to make going from college to the pros, both on and off the court?
I think my biggest adjustment on the court was summer league, just seeing the difference in athleticism, play style. The rules are a little bit different, obviously. So my kind of wake-up call was in the summer league, which I was super thankful, to not only play in it, but also to struggle to see, what that feels like, what things I needed to work on the rest of the summer. And then leading the training camp, I kind of just, fell right into things, felt really good, played really well. So I think summer league was a big thing that really helped me, and I think helped a lot of our young guys kind of develop and see like this is what it kind of takes. And then off the court, it's just probably the travel and just the amount you're on the road. You think it's super fun as like a kid, and you're like, wow, I can't wait to do this. But it's a lot. It's a lot of travel. It's a lot of time, in the air, not on the ground. So yeah, I think that's been the biggest adjustment things for me. But I think, like I said, the summer league part really helped me.
Now, Brandon, I'm a huge believer that the team that you get drafted by is almost just as important as what pick you're drafted. And I guess that could be up for debate given that only the first round slots receive guaranteed money. But you were fortunate enough to land the best of both worlds, being selected 19th overall, as you mentioned earlier, by the Golden State Warriors of all teams. So when you got that call from your agent, what were your immediate thoughts knowing you were joining such a highly accomplished group and team?
Yeah, for me, I was super happy, honestly, just to get picked. Going into that Santa Clara season, my plan was to go for 2 years, kind of follow the same model that Jalen Williams had followed of going 3 years in college and then getting picked after. So to hear my name called at 19 and at the beginning of that year, not even being on draft boards was, just a surreal feeling for me, and it's something I worked for. Obviously, like you said, it goes both ways, the pick and the fit. And I obviously got the best of both worlds. I have 4 Hall of Fame guys around me each and every day, and a Hall of Fame coach who hopefully we can get his 10th ring, which is amazing. And for me, it was just a great opportunity of, am I going to play? That is something I can't really control just because who I have ahead of me. So it was just about absorbing as much as I could through training camp, through the first couple of weeks of the season, and just learning. And I think the things that I bring to the table are things that we kind of lack, and I think that's the result of me getting more and more minutes.
So, Brandon, you mentioned that you're on a team with 4 future Hall of Famers, obviously Steph, CP3, Clay, Draymond. So I would imagine the value of what you're doing in practice every single day has to have been like, a master class in learning, let's say, some of the veteran tricks to help advance your growth. What are some of the things that you've learned in practice from those veteran guys, and how have they kind of addressed you, realizing that you're a young guy, but, with a significant role?
Yeah, I think offensively, I learned a lot from Chris and Steph, just in the fact that all 3 of us play a little bit different. But I felt that I could steal some stuff from Steph and I could steal some stuff from Chris and kind of mold that into my own format. And I think all 3 of us being point guards and primary ball handlers, I think I've learned some stuff. And then the defensive side of things, I've learned a lot from Draymond and Clay and Gary. Like I said before, just the rules being different. So you kind of got to adjust to that. Understanding how important, tendencies are, team schemes. And I think the one thing I have going for me, just you put all that aside, is just my IQ and understanding of the game, understanding, patterns. There's only so many things a team can run. So just having that understanding, and once you see it a few times, okay, now I understand it. I think that's what's kind of helped me advance and kind of sets me apart because, to be fair, I think, out of the top 20 picks, a lot of the guys are more, maybe talented than me, but I kind of understand the game to where I can be effective right now, and it's not going to take me, 3-4 years to kind of figure that out.
Now, Brandon, the Warriors have had a unique offensive philosophy since Steve Kerr became head coach. A lot of ball movement, a lot of player movement. And I'm just curious, what has it been like for you as in your first year to be a part of this kind of offensive philosophy?
Yeah, it's kind of effortless for me. That's kind of how I play. I like sharing the ball. And for me in the summer, just watching what, Gary Payton does, what Juan Toscano-Anderson did when he was there, all the role players and how they were able to play with Steph and Clay, I think that's a huge piece in earning Coach Steve's trust is if you can play with them and you can play defense and, compete, I think he's going to put you out there. And I think for me, just understanding how to screen and roll, and then playing, 4-on-3, which is what I'm really good at. Just understanding those little nuances going into the year and playing with them in training camp and stuff like that made it very seamless.
Now, Brandon, you're just finishing up your rookie year here, getting geared up for the NBA playoffs, but you're already one of the best rebounding guards in the entire NBA. My question for you is, have you always had a good feel for the flight of the ball and a knack for rebounding, or is that something that you're studying? You're watching a lot of game tape on your own, gearing up for different opponents and kind of seeing their tendencies with how the ball comes off the rim?
Yeah, I think it's more so the watching film. Me and my trainer back home, we did a film study on Josh Hart. Obviously, he's probably the best guard rebounder in the league right now. A few times he's had 18-plus rebounds.
Yeah, crazy.
And we're kind of built similar physically. I think he may weigh a little bit more, but in terms of height and stuff like that, we're basically the same. So seeing how he rebounds, and I think for me, my issue a little bit is when I go for rebounds, I sometimes get caught too far under, and then you kind of have to rely on your athleticism. And obviously, compared to other guys in the league, I'm not that athletic. So for me, it's positioning, understanding where my teammates miss, and then it's every city we go to, I like to check out the rims. I like to see if they're stiff or not. That way I know, how far the ball is going to bounce off the rims and whatnot. But in terms of the flight, I watch it. I watch my teammates in practice. I watch them in warm-ups. And then the third piece is just effort and wanting to do it. I have a firm belief that a lot of the guys who are super athletic can do it if they want to. It's just the matter of if you want to do it.
Right.
Brandon, with some of your teammates approaching their mid and even late 30s, yourself, Jonathan Kuminga, Trayce Jackson-Davis, you look to be the future core of this team. So how is Steve Kerr preparing the young dudes, you guys, to assume more responsibility moving forward?
Yeah, I think for our team, it's such a cool dynamic, but so different. Usually teams are either super old or super young. And I think for us, we have a good mix of young and old. And I think the thing about us is our veterans, the guys that are older, are taking initiative of teaching the young guys because they know they have only X amount of years left. And they want to continue to see the Warriors succeed. And I think guys like Draymond, Clay, CP, and Steph are each taking, one of us young guys under their wing and kind of showing us what that takes and what winning looks like. So I think we have a good mix. We're playing, some young and some old. So obviously there's been some struggles, but I think it's all in good heart. And I think Steve kind of sees that, how we're kind of transitioning. So I think all in all, they've done a great job, at least mentoring us young guys.
Brandon, the Warriors now are you're closing the regular season in a really strong way, 7 out of 8, entering Tuesday's game with the Lakers here. And the thing I've noticed watching you guys of late is your defense has been really stepping up. It's, traditionally you think of Warriors, you think offense, but it's a defense that has really played well for you guys, not just in the last 8 games, but basically for the last month or so. How do you feel about your team, where your team is heading into this final week of the regular season?
Yeah, we feel amazing. Obviously, every team in the league wants to be playing their best as the season winds down. But I think since Draymond came back from his suspension, and since we've been playing him and Trayce together, a little bigger lineup in the front court, I think we've been really good. But I think just as a generic theme throughout the year, we've been really good in half-court defense. I think where we get into trouble is letting teams, run out transition from our live ball turnovers, not getting back in transition. I think that's kind of what's killed us. But in terms of half-court defense, ball screen defense, we're always kind of up there and tops the league. It's just a matter of that effort level of, are we going to turn the ball over, and then are we going to get back? And I think when we do those things, we play really good.
Now, Brandon, with just a few I'm sorry about that, Bruce.
No,
I was just going to say, with just a few games remaining in this regular season, it sure looks like that you're going to be taking home the crown for most charges taken on the season. You're currently at 36 charges drawn. Jalen Brunson is 5 behind you with 31, and he happens to average over 9 minutes more per game than you, just making what you've done even more impressive. So taking charges in general is a tough task, but at the NBA level with opposing players having elite footwork, strength, and athleticism, it's even harder. So what would you credit most to your ability to be at the right, be in the right spot at the right time? And does that boil down to just film study, or where are you gaining your advantage there?
Yeah, it's kind of like the rebounding thing and the IQ piece of understanding there's only so many, ways you can go on a court. But I think the film study really comes into play in transition. Obviously, I get a lot of them in transition, and understanding, each player in the league kind of has a go-to move in transition of how they want to get around a single defender and get to the rim, whether it's a Euro step, a hop step, inside out Euro, whatever that may be. And for me, just kind of watching that, because I watch a lot of basketball of what guys like to get to, whether they like to jump off 1 foot or 2 foot, whatever that is. And I think for me, just watching that, but also understanding of the importance of positioning. And I think that's something Draymond's taught me. He's 6'6" and plays center. He relies on his positioning rather than his athleticism. And that's kind of helped me. Obviously, I've always had a knack for being around the ball and taking charges. But I think I rely on my positioning and my understanding of it's another form of rim protection.
No doubt. And I've watched a lot of your games this year, and I've seen a couple where you've had like 3 charges in the first half. I'm just curious, are the opposing players chirping in your ear or going off about how annoying you are with that? I mean, I think it's a fantastic thing, but I just want to know if there's any guys that have been like, "Can you quit it? Like you're killing me."
Surprisingly, no. Obviously, after a while, they think you're flopping and whatnot. But
sure,
I don't think I've gotten any flop calls this year. But it's more so their coach yelling at them like you should know that I'm going to take a charge. And for me, like I said, it's another form of rim protection, and
Yep.
it's a turnover for them, it's a foul for them. So all in all, it's just kind of like a deflating moment for the other team, and it kind of gives us more life.
Now, Brandon, I read that you're looking into obtaining Polish citizenship so you can play on the Polish national team at Eurobasket 2025 in Katowice with Spurs forward Jeremy Sohan. What has that process been like as far as the whole, becoming a dual national? And have you and Jeremy talked about how you're going to approach things next year in that tournament?
Yeah, so me and Jeremy, obviously we played the Spurs 4 times this year. We talked at Rising Stars because we both made it. And then we saw each other during Summer League. So we've seen each other quite a few times. We've talked about it. We understand kind of what the country of Poland means to both of us and what it would mean to not only play for them, but to win. Some that, they haven't done it in a long time. So I think for me and for him, it's just, when is the time right? Obviously, I haven't had an NBA summer yet where I've had a full year of experience. So this is going to be my first real summer of how can I get this much better based on what I've done over the course of 82 games. And I think he kind of took that same approach last year where he could have played last summer, but he wanted to take that full summer of getting better, getting ready for year two. And I think that's what I'm going to do. And then when 2025 rolls around, we'll see where that takes us.
Yeah, now that you've almost completed your first NBA season, do you remember your, as they call it, welcome to the NBA moment?
Yeah, there was two of them. One was in training camp, just guarding Steph and him making every shot. Kind of frustrating as a competitor, but you just understand why he's as good as he is. And for me, watching him working out with him during the summers, and just how hard it can be for a regular human person's eye, you understand and become accustomed to the great things he does on a nightly basis and how he's able to do it for so long. And then the other one would be we had a home game against the Clippers. I think it was late November. And I got called for a foul on Kawhi. And I wasn't even close to him, didn't even touch him. And obviously we reviewed it and it was a no call, but just kind of seeing what star level talent kind of calls you get kind of gave me that much more motivation. Like, how can I get to that level? So those would probably be the two.
So your fellow rookie, Trayce Jackson-Davis, his dad was an NBA player who I covered back in the finals for the Pacers, Dale Davis. Can you talk a little bit about your fellow rookie there, his development, and what you've seen out of him?
Yeah, he's amazing. I also think he should make an all-rookie team. Just being together with him since we got drafted together on the same night, playing summer league together, going down to Santa Cruz together, being in and out of the rotation together. Last game, we just started our first game together. It's been a whirlwind of an experience. Obviously, he's probably a little bit more mature. He's 24. I'm 21. He understands, kind of like me, the game, the patterns. Obviously, he's a little bit more athletic. But he's done a great job in terms of his development from summer league to now, obviously starting for us at the 5 spot. And like I said, I think he should rightfully so earn an all-rookie spot. He impacts winning. He does all the little things. And, he's a really big reason why we're winning.
Now, Brandon, I went to college at Marquette University and got my initial start in the NBA with the Milwaukee Bucks. So I'm very familiar with the state of Wisconsin. Obviously, you're a native. So I'm curious now, living on the West Coast, sure you're enjoying the West Coast weather, but what's one thing from back home that you do miss?
Yeah, I miss Culver's. It's a burger, custard spot. They say you have In-N-Out in California. It doesn't compare for me. So every time I go back home, I try to get as much of it as I can.
Nice.
Hey, Brandon, what we talked about Trayce Jackson-Davis before, whatever, and you mentioned about Draymond and playing alongside some of these great players. I'm just curious, your rookie season, you're playing with a transcendent player like Steph Curry, and you watch him against the Lakers a couple months ago go for 60. What was that like, watching Steph Curry, being on the court with him, watching him at his best?
Yeah, I think we lost that game, but in the moment you don't really kind of notice it until he starts hitting like 5, 10 in a row, and then it's kind of like, how do I get the ball to him? Just get out of his way, let him do his thing. But like I said, going back to the stuff he does in the summertime, in the fall, like I said, you become accustomed to those things because of the habits and the culture he's kind of built amongst us. And I think when guys see that, when guys sees what he does on a daily basis, because he has so much coming at him from not only a basketball player, but a businessman, a husband, a father, all those kind of things that he has to jumble on a daily basis. And then on top of that, being Steph Curry, it's truly amazing. And I think he only should be rewarded for those things with those, kind of outbursts of 60 points or whatnot because he puts so much good into it.
Now, Brandon, you didn't say this, but I think In-N-Out's slightly overrated myself, although I do kind of like their fries. But anyway, so, all right, you started out at Illinois. You transferred to Santa Clara. Jalen Williams of the Thunder also was coach, but you guys missed each other being teammates by a year. So have you ever ended up in a switch where you had to guard that guy, and what kind of a challenge was that?
Yeah, I've guarded him a lot. During the summers, we go back to Santa Clara and play with the team and have a bunch of our old alumni that play either professionally or overseas come back and play. So I've got my fair share. But this season, when we played the Thunder, I've guarded him a couple possessions. I don't think he tried to shoot any of them necessarily. I think he maybe passed it or something like that. But, he's a great player. I remember vividly just this summer playing with him and his brother and then a couple of our other alumni playing against the team that we have now. He's super skilled, super talented. Obviously, if he didn't have quite as good of a rookie year as he did, I think he'd be right up there for most improved player. Obviously, he's going to continue to get better, and it'd be no surprise to any of us if he's an all-star at some point.
Now, speaking of guarding defenders in the NBA, I'm curious if you'd be willing to share who's been the toughest guy to guard this season. And if you're not willing to spill the beans on that during the season, maybe who kind of caught you by surprise, whether it be their size or their abilities out there on the floor this year?
Yeah, toughest guard would probably be DeMar DeRozan for me or Kyrie. Kyrie, I feel like it's kind of self-explanatory. Super shifty, ball in the string, can make any shot on the floor. But DeMar, I think, is a little bit of surprise to some guys, even though he's a little bit older now. Just his ability to draw fouls, using his strength, can make any shot in the mid-range. And if you leave him open from three, he's going to make it. So the discipline it takes to guard a guy like that, because you get so amped up to like guard a star player, like you want to play so good against them to kind of put your name out there, and so they can say, oh, he can guard this player. You have to have so much focus and be so disciplined guarding him, because you look up and he has 12 free throws and it's only the third quarter, and then that kind of gets his rhythm going. So those two would probably be the toughest. And in terms of a guy who surprised me with just Luka, just how big he is, physically, how wide his shoulders are, how he has the ball on the string, how he can make every pass on the floor, being 6'7", 6'8", whatever he is. You see, why he's been so successful in just whatever, I think it's year 5 for him right now.
Yep. And with that, Brandon, we really appreciate your time here after the national championship game, hopping on the 48 Minutes podcast. Certainly don't want to take any more of your time. We know you got a big game tomorrow night in Los Angeles against the Lakers. So we wish you the best of luck in that, and wish you good luck the rest of the way here during your rookie year.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
And with that will do it for this edition of the 48 Minutes podcast on Believe, presented by Bet Online. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back with you next week to be sure you're up to date in 48 on all things around the association. Take care, everybody.